welcome to another episode of Daddy Confessions. Man, this is, it's always great to be able to do these podcasts, to be able to talk to fathers, be able to just have conversations about what's going on in the world. I guess I should probably do this. I don't think I actually ever do this since I first started the podcast. My name is John. I am the host of this podcast. I've been doing this for a while now. I never introduced myself. It's so weird. But but today, today I have someone joining me who, he and I have a very interesting connection, and it started out online as in a forum of individuals working in independent school, men of color working in independent schools. Turned out that we have some similar tastes as well. We just got back from a conference not too long ago. And, so I want to let Chris introduce himself, and then we're just going to hop into the topic for today. So, Chris, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Awesome. Well, thanks, John. And I'm excited to be here on Daddy Confessions. I am Chris Dennis, newly Dr. Chris Dennis.
Oh, right. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, brother. And, I am a cigar aficionado.
There you go.
If it's a cigar, I'm going to find a lounge. We are going to light a stick. And that's, John and I met in Sticks and Stones, a meetup for Black male educators, and it was awesome. But I am also a father of 5.
All right.
So my children range in ages of 27, 25, 22, 17, and 15. My son Dejan will turn 18 on August 11th. So
all right.
We're actually taking a boys trip. So me and all my sons are going to the desert. We're going to hit up a resort and spend 3 days together because it's necessary. It's necessary. Man. And I'm an independent school administrator. I'm an associate head of school out here in Los Angeles. And my career has taken me from California to Maine to Manhattan to Minnesota. I've been everywhere. So I'm not a military man, but an educator. We gonna travel. We gonna travel. So that's who I am.
That's cool, Chris, man. Congratulations on getting your PhD. That was one of the things that was actually mentioned to me that I should consider doing that. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Bro.
I think school, I might be done with school. I might be on a many levels, but definitely going back as a student. I don't know.
Man, I tried to go back 3 times for the doctorate, and this last time, the reason why I was able to finish it, and it took me 6 years, started in 2019 before all the foolishness, was because I did it because I wanted to be better at the work I was doing.
Yeah.
So I didn't want it wasn't about the title, it wasn't about the money. It was because I really wanted to learn something, and thank God that I jumped in both feet at that time because you do it when you can. But I am not a peddler of go get the doctorate anymore because I'm just not. So,
well, say on the flip side of that, you also have older kids, and so that was you kind of didn't have that kind of they still need you day to day, or the younger ones needed you day to day, but not necessarily in the way that a middle schooler or elementary schooler needs their parents around, right? Your high schoolers getting they at the point now where they can drive themselves, or the older one can drive the younger one, things like that, right?
Exactly.
So you got to get a little bit of time back where you can get some work done, stuff like that. So
the benefit of siblings, and then you got a partner, and then it's also, they my son, he's 15 now. He's like, you've been in this program for a third of my life, and I was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So it's like, okay, I need to unlearn some habits that I had while I was in program. So, but not for the weary at all. So,
yeah. So you said 5 kids. And let me ask you this. So you also talked about, your kind of, or the places you've worked over the years. You've done, it's funny because I think I made a decision after I left New Hampshire that I was probably not going to travel large distances from my
Right.
family anymore for work,
Yeah.
to my detriment, I think, on some level. So I've been widening that net again. But um, you know, I assume on some level there's been a lot of conversations that you. How long have you been married?
17 years.
17 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations on 17 years.
Thank you.
15 on this end. So you got me by a couple of
Congratulations.
years. Um, and so I assume that over the years there have been many conversations as it relates to, the moves that you all have made in terms of like what that looks like and feels like for your partner and her,
Yeah.
her work and all that stuff, and the kids, and where they are in terms of their growth and schooling and things like that. So tell me a little bit more about that piece of it, like how those conversations kind of played out. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess they played out
So,
well because you moved, you made the moves. So
well, there's a lot in that, and I think it took me a while to really realize why am I so willing to relocate, or what's that energy within me, and it really comes from my own childhood and upbringing.
hmm
So, my parents, my dad's from St. Louis, mom's from Indianapolis. They met in the military. I was born in Indiana, but we moved to LA when I was 2.
okay.
So we were like our nuclear family was all we had out in LA for a while. But
hmm
in LA, I probably moved probably 12 times
Wow.
before graduating high school.
Okay.
And all of high school, I was in the same spot. But like through elementary and middle school, like we moved a lot, and not far locally, just because chasing opportunities, and if there was a home that was better or whatever, or if we lost a home. So that what I didn't realize was that frequency and that pace of movement actually did normalize in my own choices. So like
hmm
moving wasn't odd to me.
Gotcha.
And because of that, professionally, when I see an opportunity, my net is broad to look for opportunities.
Gotcha.
And as a younger married couple, the excitement of that was exciting for both of us. um Probably after year 10, it was like, okay, my wife used the term nesting. She's like I need a nest, we need a nester home. Like I need to just sit still. Because we um lived in a suburb of in Southern California called Moreno Valley for a good portion of our time together, the early part of our marriage. And we had a really strong church foundation where it nurtured our family. So it was really important for
Yeah.
about 7 years. And then, we left that and went to the great state of Maine. I went to go work at Bowdoin College. And the reason why we went was because my son was going to boarding school.
Gotcha.
And my wife was like, the only way he can go to boarding school in Maine is if he's near you.
Gotcha.
So he can't go if you're not around to be able to continue to impact his life.
hmm
So I just went on a job board, found a little opening, and it worked out. So the we went cross country, and when we walked into our home, she cried. She cried because it was not what she thought it was going to be.
hmm
And I was like, oh, this might be hard. So we
Yeah.
lasted a year and drove back to California
Wow.
and took another job. So I think, but then again, 3 years after that, we moved to Manhattan. So
Okay.
spent a year in Hell's Kitchen, spent a year in Harlem, and all of the moves were with her support, but I realized the toll it took every time.
Gotcha.
Um, so now, as I think about my career, um, we are very specific on the geographic regions we will look. It can't be, it's got to be a major city, but it also has to be either be near, my one of my daughters is in Houston, one of my daughters is in Nashville.
hmm
And we're like, if we're going to go anywhere, it needs to be close to the girls. And that's about as far as we get to go. So to kind of answer the question of just about how we've made the changes, it's really about um, my ambition, but I always have the urge to see something new, and I'm excited. But I do recognize that I've got to learn how to sit still in a place because that's what my wife needs and that's good for the family. And as
Yeah.
my younger kids are continuing to finish high school, it does make sense. Like when they come back for spring break from college, it would be nice for them to be able to see their friends that they went to high school with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so that kind of disjointed relationships and disjointed friendships, like that'll also take a toll on them in their professional lives. So I'm trying to be more mindful of that and settle down. And who knows? Maybe I'm in LA for the long haul, but I gotta make sure that itch. I'm tending to that itch to spread the net.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's very. It's a very real thing to be in that place of, I've always said that sometimes you got to move out to move up, and so being able to look very clearly at where you are it for your professional life, right, and know that I have either reached a plateau there
Mm,
where there's nowhere else for me to go, um, and that means I need to make a move, and then how that then affects your family, right? Like, what does that mean for your family in terms of making a new transition? What does that mean for your family in terms of, having we've been living in the same house here in Maryland for I think it's 12 years now.
wow.
Um, and you know, we every once in a while we like it's too small, we outgrowing it. What are we gonna do? And then we're like, and then I say, well, I'm hoping that the boys will be heading off to boarding school in a couple of years. I mean,
Yeah.
I got my oldest is in middle school. If he's out the house, then he's just coming, to visit. Then he's off to college, and
Yep.
this place becomes less of a small home and more of
Right.
a transient location for my kids as they come in and out doing their things. Now, I mean, whether boarding school is actually in the cards for them or not, I mean, maybe
Mm,
that's what I want,
mm,
but they
mm.
got to figure that out for themselves. Um, and that's but the opportunity will be there for them.
Sure.
But at the same time, my wife, her parents have passed, and so it's just
Sorry.
her and her sister, and her sister lives in New Jersey, and so it's like, how much further do we move away from what is left of her, um, her
Her
family,
family. Yeah.
and I don't, and so we go back and forth about that. Like, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And so it's a very real thing, that to have these conversations, to think about and put your family at the center of it when you're making these choices in terms of your growth as a professional, right? So,
Yeah.
um, and then to that effect, so your old so which child went to boarding school?
So of the five, four
Okay,
have done independent schools. So my
okay,
oldest daughter, she went to a boarding school in Arizona
okay,
for about a year and a half.
okay. Not for her, not for her. Gotcha.
And then my
I didn't
oldest
know they
son,
had
he
boarding schools in Arizona, actually,
oh
but
yeah, and this I mean, let me say about this place. This place, you pull off the highway onto a dirt road,
oh,
and looking back at it now, you know, we all were just excited. But
uh-huh.
in that season, it just spoke to her, and she
Right,
was
right.
into it. And so she slept in the Grand Canyon, learned how to shoot a shotgun, all kinds of
Oh, wow.
good things.
Right.
But infrastructure and the institutional depth of like what a young black girl needed. We just saw like, okay, you guys aren't going to be able to finish this. Um, my
Yeah.
son, he essentially graduated from his boarding school, but he did 3 years there, and then he did his senior year and first year of college at Morgan State University through a special program we got him in,
Okay.
where and that was like it was a great play. I'm telling you, the play was awesome. But the culture shock going from Maine to Baltimore was a bit much.
Yep. I
Um,
can see that. I can see that.
and then so then my youngest daughter, uh, she literally said, she's like, I don't want this. I don't want independent school. She went on a boarding school interview, was crushing it, and the interviewer was like, she's amazing. But there's just one question that I asked her. And I think it sums everything up. They said, well, why do you want to go to such and such school? She's like, oh, I don't.
I don't.
Like I don't. I'm just here to interview because I was like, that's my girl. That's my girl. So that's
There
her.
you go.
And then my middle son DJ, he's at school with us now, and he's only these will be he'll do his last 2 years of high school in an independent school, and that's all he'll have. I don't know why he waited till junior year to jump on the bandwagon, but he crushed it. He crushed it last year. He's gonna have a great senior year. And then my youngest, he's been in independent school since third grade. So
Okay.
he's technically a lifer. So
Right. Right. Wow. Okay. So I mean, so definitely what that tells me first and foremost is that you all have been a family that has let your children really try to help, figure out like what works for them, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and really be engaged in that process in a meaningful way. And that's an important piece, right? Because, private school ain't for everyone, boarding school ain't
right,
for everyone.
right.
Matter of fact, I tell people I used to work in the admissions office, and when I used to work in the admissions office, and people, you get every once in a while you get these people who think they're like they smart, and they come in and they say, well, why should we choose your school? I was like, you don't have to. Like,
Exactly.
I was like, I'm not here to sell you on some product that is not right for you. Like,
Right,
I'm not a used
right.
car salesman. I don't get paid the end of the month for meeting my quota. Like, if it ain't for you, it ain't for you. And that's an
Exactly.
important piece. So if your kids can be a part of that process and understanding like what works for them and what doesn't,
Yeah.
that's that's a really helpful piece in their growth, right? So,
Right. Right.
um, and
And
so
sometimes
let me.
I think sometimes like as an administrator, I should ask them because I have no idea what they think of the whole operation when they see me, or do they just like, okay, dad's at work, for the kids that go to school, my kids that go to school with me, and my kids that don't. So I have no idea what it looks
Mhm.
like, but yeah, but letting them know that their journey academically is going to be theirs was definitely important for us to make sure they understood.
Yeah. So speaking of that, so in terms of your youngest two go to
Mm-hmm.
school where you work,
Mm-hmm.
and that's been going on now just for the what 3 years now, or did
Uh,
your youngest one always go to school where you work?
yeah, my youngest one, we've been together for wow, he's a 10th grade. Yeah, for about 7 years. The
Okay.
pandemic year, one of those years was I was at a different school, but yeah, we basically been going to school together for the last 7 school years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that's a very unique situation. Is one that I'm in as well.
Yeah.
And I say it's unique mostly because there are not very many men working in schools. Number one, black men working in schools. Number two, um, and to that effect, right here you are. Here I am, two black men who work in independent schools, and what I want to know from you, what I want to get a sense of from you is how has that um let me start with this first. So I freely tell, and probably to the detriment of my kids, um, that they are, um, they've always been one of only a few students of color in their class, right?
Mm,
Independent schools, most independent schools is that's the reality of these places.
right.
um my oldest son happened to be in an environment prior to where we are now, where there were quite a few students of color. His preschool teacher was a person of color. He had an assistant teacher in the forest program, pre-kindergarten program, that was also a person of color, a male of color. So
Mm-hmm.
he had his start to his education, even with me at the school, had other people around him of color, other students as well in his class. Like
Yeah.
half of his class, over it might have been over half of his class in kindergarten, preschool, and kindergarten were students of color. So that's very unique. That's not the norm in a lot of places. So his experience was one that was that had a lot of diversity amongst the students, and teachers that actually focused on him as a individual of color in this environment, and like
Wow.
elevating his sense of self in a way that I have never seen in any other environment that I've been in. Okay. Um, and that was amazing.
Mm,
But that is not the norm. And so
mm,
the long way to get to my question is, how have you seen that environment where it is not the norm for our students, our young black boys, our young black girls, to be put into a position, into a place where their sense of self, the imagery of who they are and who they can be is elevated in the school environment? How have you seen that play out for your kids? Have you seen it play out for your kids? And what are some of the conversations that you've had to have with your kids in that realm?
whew. All right, this is gonna be a long one.
Yeah.
Man, there's so much there because to have an educator on any level help amplify the natural light that your child has in either creatively, but just from a racial identity perspective, like to find any educator that can do that is really special. And
Hmm.
when you say that your kids were able to really, thrive because of that nurturing is really special. And it is not easy to come by,
Yeah.
regardless of whatever's going on, because we know that teachers in schools have their own professional journey that impacts how they have to show up at that workplace. So
Hmm.
to be a teacher of color in an independent school and show up for students of color, you have to really um, take up that mantle and honor it. So, in additionally, when it's an administrator or a faculty kid, you know, there may be some things there, but specifically for my kids, I'll talk about my youngest. I think it depends on the school, and because the school's essence is going to really start the whole thing. So the first school we went to together, not a lot of students of color, definitely not a lot of black boys, but he did have that first year. He had two male teachers of color
Mm.
teaching his class. Assistant teacher was
Okay.
black. Lead teacher was a Latinx man,
Okay.
and so I knew he was going to be taken care of. Like they loved him, they gave him space, but because there weren't a ton of boys in the class that looked like him, um, he didn't necessarily step into his own spirit. You
Mm.
know, he would go. It looked fine, but I would notice on like different projects and different things that the kid I sent to school wouldn't be the kid that would be giving the presentation.
Mm. Mm.
The voice was a little softer. It was like, okay, he's playing it down. He's playing it safe. The next year, another woman of color was his teacher. So I was like, okay, like, and then they loved on him, nurtured him, and but it was the same thing. It's like, dang, okay, and I'm right there. Like my office is, I'm two floors up. He can come
Yeah.
in after work. He would be in there reading, eating candy, whatever. But it was just something about the essence of the place. He didn't get to step into who he was, and it was an all
Mm.
boys school, and he had friends, and the black families and the families of color, like everybody was cool. And I was the director of diversity, so like I knew what was going on curriculum wise, and he wasn't having particularly any challenges. But it was just even with the nurturing of those teachers and me being there, just like you said in your admissions days, was it the place for him to thrive? Those 2 years, not the most. He wasn't
Mm.
regressing or anything like that, but it was just really interesting about where his spirit was. Um, and we were in Manhattan, so lots of things. But he loved the city. He loved the
Yeah.
city. So when we got to our current school, you know, his vibrancy came alive. So he hit the ground. Uh, you know, fifth grade was so that was third and fourth grade at the other school. Fifth grade was a pandemic year; it was remote. But sixth grade is when we hit this new school, and he had a teacher of color. This woman, black woman, she was a product of independent schools. Her kids went to independent schools. She had a standard of excellence
Mm-hmm.
where she
Mm-hmm.
was like, "I see you, young black boy. You you don't get to be silly and fall out of your chair to get the laugh. No,
Mm-hmm.
the bar's higher. I expect the best of you." And for him, he wasn't feeling that. He was like, "Leave me alone."
Right, right, right,
But
right, right.
but she made it clear to him. She made it clear to us. She was like, "I am not going to let you be mediocre in this space." So, and that was beautiful because she pushed him to really pull out who he was, and that set the foundation for his time now to really know this is his school. This is there's no inch on this 12 acres that he can't go
Gotcha.
and feel like himself. So now um he looks up to other, some of the upperclassmen, and he'll say their name, and he'll be like, "Oh, when I'm a junior, I'm gonna be like Zay because he does this." And it's like when the school, the essence of the school and the community with the nurturing of a strong teacher come together, that's what's going to make the impact. And I can see the difference,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
to the point where, you know I'll come out of a meeting and he's just in, both of them. I'll come out of a meeting, they're just in my office, like it's the lounge, and I'm like, at this other school I wouldn't have seen that.
Right.
And here it's like it's the nurturing, it's the mission, it's the culture that really bring it out. So I've seen how hard it is for a teacher, an educator of color, administrator of color, to try to create the beautiful atmosphere for a student to thrive in, and they can't do it alone. But when there's sometimes you got to go to a different place to see it and feel it.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Um, but my boys are thriving, and my assumptions were, because we're 50% students of color at my school.
Wow.
My assumptions were the majority of their friends will be students of color. Not necessarily.
Right. Right. Right.
Not
Right. Right.
necessarily.
Right.
Like they have the United Nations of friendships, and you know on the back end is like, well, what did we expect when we put them in these environments? Like, we didn't
Yeah.
expect them to find their own and stay there. And you've got to be able to really navigate what it looks like for them to have friendships with different backgrounds, and navigate that space. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And still go to the Black Student Union meetings or not. You know what I
Right.
mean? And what does it mean to have Black identity in this space? And then we haven't even talked about wealth and socioeconomics kind of in the mix as well. But the nurturing of powerful teachers has been huge, and we've been fortunate that they've had those teachers all along.
Yeah.
And I'm happy I get to witness the evidence of what that looks like every day. You know what I mean? When I see them walking around campus, I do this, and they know they got to come give me a hug, and it's not weird. So it's been dope, man. It's been dope.
Yeah. That's great, man. I think. Wow. That is. That's actually for me. What that says is that I need to be um really honest with my head of school, with myself, about where the school is in terms of the what they believe to be the ethos of belonging at the school, and how that is then seen amongst the students, right? And I had a conversation earlier in the summer with my head of school about how, actually not even that long ago, it was after we got back from the conference.
Okay.
One of the things that I told him was that what I came out of the conference with was this a better understanding of why. um well, I always knew about why my voice was important, but
Mm-hmm.
being able to kind of put it in context for him as to what we are seeing in the school community as it relates to the families of color at our school, and why they are choosing to either engage the way that they do, or not engage at all, right? And it's because of their voice not
Yeah.
being tapped into in the school community, them not seeing themselves reflected in the work and the things that are being done day in and day out at the school, right? So when and I told them, I was like, so
Mm-hmm.
it's very easy for families to step into these echo chambers of things that happen to them, right, or happen to their kids at the school, and only talk in those small groups and
Mm-hmm.
have part of the information, or creating their own narrative on the situation, um not because that's not what is their reality, but because they don't feel connected enough to the school community to be able to voice that concern to anybody else anywhere else. um and
Mm.
it's a very real issue that exists, and the reason why many students of color graduate from these schools and never come back.
Right.
um Never come back, never give back, never think about the place again, because the kids and the parents spent all of their time in this transactional mindset of their
Yep.
environment at the school, and not engaging in the school as their school.
Oh
um
man,
so
that's real. It's like there's the stereotypical, prototypical way, the portrait of a graduate, and that's just one track. That's just one train track. There's these
mhm,
other tracks that kids are on, and but the only one that we want to celebrate is the one that was the ideal. So like
right.
this kid that wasn't selected or wasn't chosen or wasn't nurtured or nourished, but because they weren't problematic or because they weren't behaviorally an issue, they were, oh, they seem fine, oh, good kid. But
Mhm, mhm.
where's the 3 paragraph narrative of how you know this kid, as you do the person who's always getting picked to do the speech at the open house or whatever. And I think a colleague of mine told me years ago, he said, sometimes our kids graduate less resilient than they showed up.
Mm,
And it's
mm,
because, the cues that they pick up from the community, you know, make it so. It's
right.
it's the it's the it really is implicit bias that's really impacting the way we're told it's okay for you to be full,
Yeah.
be your full self on your terms versus assimilation.
Right.
um and the parents, I tell parents, hey, don't give us a lifetime achievement award once you get in. Like, the same parenting you did before they got here, we need you to be that. If you have an issue or a question, like, get on my calendar. Like, let's, like, like, don't take it for granted that we've got it all figured out either. I remember there was a a parent, and there was an issue going on, and he saw me walking past the playground. He's like, hey, do I got to get on your calendar for this to work out? I'm like, yes. Yes, you do. Like, don't assume
You're right.
that because we're cordial, that I'm gonna, like, understand how to prioritize and help you problem solve. Like, you have to do your part too.
Yeah.
And sometimes the school is a cold place um for those moments of, like, well, who do I go to? How do I resolve this issue? Because the beauty of resolving any issue is that there's life after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen, when our families have an issue and we get to resolve it, they come back as a better advocate, and then they will tell other families, like, no, this school does take this seriously. We do get things done. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm going to volunteer
Right.
and go to
Right.
another level. Yeah.
Right. So with that said, and I think that the piece that you said about sometimes our kids leave these places, excuse me, less
Hmm.
resilient than the way they came in, is 100% accurate, right? Like when they go through the admissions process, they come into these places like, oh, these are the type of kids that we need here. Like, they're dynamic, they stand out, they do X, Y, and Z, they're, whatever. And but the school community has a way of tamping that down, uh to have students, whatever their background, is to fit a mold that already exists at the school.
Right.
It is the X school way, right? And when you fall into the X school way, it becomes this very difficult thing for a person who has been developing their own voice to like feel confident to be themselves in that environment. Now, so my question to you, Chris, is how have you been able to help your kids specifically not fall into that trap of the X school way, right? Of
Yeah.
losing themselves in the bigger picture of what the school needs, right? And be their own individual selves. How have you helped your kids do that?
Whew. Well, because every child we raise is different.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I've been responsible for comparing my kids. They don't like that. Um, and you know, there's a significant amount of worry, guilt, responsibility that may be misplaced that we carry as fathers,
Mm-hmm.
because all we want is them to live their best and do their best. And sometimes I've had moments with all of my kids where I'm like, maybe I was too hard on them. Maybe I pushed the issue. So then I change that, and then sometimes I'm like, man, maybe I was too soft on that. And then my wife calls me a volcano. She's like, you're calm until you erupt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so I think when I'm watching my kids, um, the biggest thing is this: the kid I send to school is the kid I want to see come home,
Mm-hmm.
grow, meet your potential. But if your spirit, if your essence is diminished, like I'm concerned. So with
Right.
my middle son, who got here in junior year, like he took over. Like
Mm-hmm.
he ran for everything, took up space, and turned on the charm and the charisma, and really is getting the most out of this thing,
Yeah.
to the point to where when his brother as a ninth grader is like, man, you doing too much, like relax, like I'm trying to chill. And that nonchalant attitude is what's being picked up from the culture, this culture of don't look like you're trying, don't
Right.
look like you're efforting, because then that stands out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not for everybody. We can have maybe two of those in each grade. We can have
Right.
two standouts each grade. They've already been solidified because they've been here since kindergarten. We know who they are. Don't upset the pecking order.
Right.
But as a new person, the biggest opportunity we have is to say, run for everything, take up as many seats as you can, because you have nothing to lose. But for
Nothing to
somebody who
lose.
comes up with these same kids year after year, it's harder to take those risks. And that's just school, right? That's just
Yeah.
that's just high school. That's just middle school. It's like you don't want to take the risks to disrupt your friend group, to disrupt like the social hierarchy. And we perpetuate that institutionally by the way we operate school. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? We only know who we know. So with my kids, I try to tell them, like, you know, your friend group may be happy with you being number 2 on the podium, or number 3.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the maximum of your potential, great. But if you go for gold and you actually meet your potential, sometimes they're not going to be happy with that reset.
Mm.
But just make sure you're doing your very best, because if you slowed down so that they could win and that you're number 2, like, that's not going to serve you long
Right.
term.
Hundred
And
percent.
and my youngest specifically doesn't like that type of conversation, because he's doing a great job of living in the moment. He's got a friend group of 12, and they've been rocking together since 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. They haven't had a friendship breakup yet, and I'm like, I need to be very careful of not honoring the thing that he has created with his friendships, um, because that's rare. Like, everybody
Mm-hmm.
doesn't get that.
It's
But at
true.
the same time, I'm like, Like you can like go get you something. Like it's okay. It's okay for you to be able to step in and lean in. And so right now we're in the era of okay, it's 10th grade. I need you to start being a little more decisive of what matters to you. What do you
Yeah.
care about aside from your friend group? And the long answer to say like it's hard because you pressure bust pipes, and I don't want to crush their spirit or be their enemy. Because my biggest goal is to cheer my kids on, is to
Yeah.
clap and be consistent. Um, but I also don't want them to miss an opportunity, miss a moment, and at minimum I have to let them know in a loving way, in communicate in a way where they can hear me, that these moments are precious, take advantage, but I
Yeah.
also have to model that same behavior.
Yeah.
you know
That's very difficult, right? Because you want your kids to live up to their potential or the potential you see in them,
you see
but
in them. Yep.
yeah, but you also understand that, and it's not, and I know I spoke earlier about the X school way, right? But it's also just the social dynamics that kids live within in a lot of situations, right? Like they just, they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to be the standout. They don't want to be,
Right.
too much of the individual. And it's funny because I feel like that, if I could just dig right into my kids' heads and like implant one idea, it would be that the most beneficial thing that you can do for yourself and your personal growth and your excuse me and your your mental health is to stand out, right? Like to
Mm,
be your own person, not let what the group decide who you are.
right.
And because oftentimes that is what conflicts most with a person's mental health, right? Like they spend so much time trying to be okay with the way that somebody was spoken to or that they were spoken to in the group dynamic, or the way things played out in the group dynamic, that they are now
Mm,
questioning who they are in
mm,
relation to that group, and they continue to stay in that group or be a part of that group or do the things that that group is doing,
mm,
instead of like taking control of who they are and the things that they want and putting those things first, right? And that's such a interesting, I wish, like I said, I wish I could just embed that into my kids' mind. Like, don't, hey, everybody want to play the sport X or thing X, right? That's cool. That's not your thing. If it's not your thing, that's not your thing, right? Don't go out there and be the worst, soccer player you can be because everybody,
right.
all your friends are playing soccer, when you really want to play, you really want to run track, or you want to,
Right.
run cross country or whatever. Do the thing that is most of interest to you. Um, if you
Mm,
interested in drawing, don't, if you like writing, you know what I'm saying? Don't pretend that you can't write because the other kids think writing is stupid. Like
exactly.
that's, now you have changed the way that you feel about yourself and the things that you enjoy to make someone else feel better, and that's crazy to
It,
me.
it is.
So
It is. I mean, and that's as dads, I think there's what I'm what I've realized, and I'm more reflective these days than I probably was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and I'm realizing like storytelling is very helpful.
yeah.
So especially when we tell our stories about where we were at these ages,
Hmm.
because they can understand a story that we tell because it's not personalized to them. Is
Right.
and if we can show pictures and evidence, right? So I
Oh
tell
yeah.
the story. I became a dad at 17 years old, um, and it was because in the circle I was running with, well, the coding and the messaging that I got in my community at that time was, hey, young black man, be good at sports and sex. Okay.
Hmm.
I was student of the year in 5th grade and I love geography. But because I wanted to go chase this social hierarchy, that's just what it became. But in high school, my group of friends included the star quarterback, running back, and I was a wide receiver, defensive back with no talent.
Mm.
But we would work out
I mean, you
all the
had
time.
talent. You had talent. Don't
I had
say
talent.
no.
I had talent. Wasn't on their level, you know what I mean? But we would work out. We would all talk about going to college to play football, getting recruited, all these things. And we all worked on the same goals.
Right.
Now, their opportunities to participate in that journey came easy and frequent, and well before mine. I sat the bench until my senior year in high school, but I was a good student. I knew how to read a playbook. I knew how to understand the game, so that by the time it came to get to college, I could have went for a track scholarship. I was like, no, I'm going to play football. So went to community college with some of my friends who also had some other situations, and I ended up thriving, as a free safety in this against grown men, like, a speck of talent, but knowing how to be in the right spot.
Right.
That translated to the college game better than it did the high school game.
Right.
So then I was able to actually go take my son to college with me. Division II football, was able to go start at all conference bowl games. But as I began to continue to ascend, my friends, like, they kind of plateaued. And when the pecking order restructured, there was some discomfort for them. And I'm like, I can remember saying, like, but I thought we all wanted the same thing. I thought we were all chasing the goals and the dreams. We were literally working out together.
Right.
So for folks to not be excited with me, for me, is interesting.
Yeah.
And I share that same story with my kids to let them know, like, look, like, you have to be happy with your effort every time in all that you do. And it's okay if you're not good, because you just need reps.
Right.
If you put enough reps together, you'll get better. And when you're with a friend group, it's like, okay, we're all gonna dye our hair blonde. Like, well, okay, son, like, that's gonna hit you different. Okay,
it's gonna be there. Yes, that's right.
That's gonna hit you different. Okay. Oh, everybody's gonna go to this barber. Like, okay, but okay.
Like, are you thinking about you or the whole group? Like, how does this play out for you? Like, this is
like, everybody can't do the same thing. And so I think storytelling is helpful when we do want to kind of open their brain and pour in. Is just sharing, and then also sharing. Don't always share the highlights. Because now my kids tease me of, like, in a loving way. They'd be like, well, you were a teenage parent. Like, what do you know? So it's like, okay, they got that message. That message. Don't do that.
Right.
But when I graduated, in May, I took off my hood and my robe, and I make sure all of them put it on. Because it's like, being the first of anything is its own weight.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is a moment where they're present for it, where I get to give them something. They get to make the memory of it all of their own. You know what I mean? About what this moment meant. So I think, I want them to reach the potential I see in them. And what I'm learning with my grown kids is that I also have to accept what they see for themselves.
Yeah.
But as long as, I'm still in nurturing mode, we got to do it. We just doing our best. You know what I mean? We just do
every
our
day.
very best. Yeah.
That's all we can do. You know what I'm saying? And that's a really important thing to put out there, right? Like, every parent is just doing their best. And there's no you can't win at this. There's no trophy at the end of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't get a trophy at the end of it. What you get is the opportunity to look at your children, your family, and hope that they don't make some of the mistakes that you made, right? Like you've been able
Right.
to really put them in the mindset that they don't make similar mistakes. Hopefully that you are able to look at them and they can tell you that they felt safe, they felt seen and heard, they felt like they were able to be themselves, um, bring their full self to the family, right? Like that's an important piece as well. That's something. So that's all. When I think about my parenting journey and the things that probably I wish I would have known when I started as a parent, and where I am now is that we work every day. I work every day to try to be less of that volcano, the volcano that you mentioned, try
Yep.
to be less of that volcano, right? And be more predictable in my reactions and the way that I come into conversations and issues that arise, right? Because that's what they need. They need me to be predictable. Everything else around them in the world does not have that predictability. So whatever I can do to bring some predictability to them for them is important. Be an image of someone who is doing their best to bring their full self, bring my full self to the family, so that they can feel comfortable enough to do that for themselves as well. And also, not be afraid to have the conversation around why it's important to um to be able to speak your mind and be a person who is um who's really feeling all of the feelings, right?
Yeah.
Like for better or for worse. Like we need to feel the feelings, right? They need to understand that we don't have to bottle things up. You know what I'm saying? I didn't grow up in a household where we felt the feelings, but it's important for them to know that it's okay to do that. And
Yeah.
it's needed. Because we don't see that enough. We don't have those conversations enough. And I know that my son is not able to do that with his friends. My sons are not able to go
Right.
to their friends and feel their feelings. You know what I'm saying? That's most likely not going to happen because they don't get that. Their parents aren't telling them to feel their feelings. Boys aren't taught to feel their feelings,
Right.
in these spaces. And so wherever we can be that space where they can do that safely, then that's what we try to do. That's what I try to do. So
Man, that's huge. That's huge. And as busy as we are as administrators, it's like, well, you tell me how this shows up with your kids. Like, we drive to school together, we come home together, we will probably see each other throughout the day. My son, he's in a steel drum ensemble, and
okay.
I usually go to all of his performances. This
Mm-hmm,
one
mm-hmm.
day, I thought I was going to pick up my wife so we can go back. She ended up driving. I'm already home. I'm like,
Oh
ooh, you
no.
know what? It'd be really cool if I could just chill. She's like, all right, go ahead. And my son got home, and really, he was joking, but he was telling the truth. Like, he was
mm-hmm.
lecturing me. He was like, so you mean to tell me you in here in the bed with your belly out instead of coming to my performance? Is that what we do? And then but what I took from that, and we kept talking. I was like, I'm sorry, man. Like, it doesn't matter. In my mind, I'm like, I'm there every day,
Mm-hmm,
all
mm-hmm,
the day,
mm-hmm,
all day.
mm-hmm.
And he's like, but this was he like, I don't care about none of that. Like, I still want you at my stuff. You know what I mean? So that so what is it like for you to be on, and yeah, what is it like just to be on? And have you ever had that experience where you took a minute to yourself, and they let you know about it?
It's a great question. And this is what I'll tell you related to that. I I believe that whatever I can do to be there for their school events is hugely important. And so just like you, I work at the school because I'm there. Like the school events are probably not events that I would miss on purpose. Like, not saying you miss it on purpose. I'm just saying, but like I try my best to be in those spaces, be there for them for multiple reasons, right? There's not going to be a lot of other people there like that look like them,
Mm-hmm.
and my wife has a schedule that's far more rigid than mine is. So my mother doesn't drive, so grandma can't always be there. My sister living her best life is a 30 something, you know what I'm saying? So and I'm actually horrible at inviting people to stuff. Like I almost, shame on me, almost forgot to invite my mother and my sister to my son's fifth grade promotion. Like, full disclosure, like it wasn't because they didn't need to be there. It's just because like I was going through the motion of the end of the school year, working at the school. I was planning, on being there. My wife was planning on being there. Like we were fully going to be there to support our son, but it didn't even occur to me to go through that next step of inviting other family. Like we were just going through the motion. So I say all that to say that because of that, the school piece of it, it's very rare that don't I take time off from that. Now in other parts, other things that they do, oh yeah, I'll miss those, and because I need those, because you know what I'm saying. We need those moments to recharge as well. Like they want to go roller skating. I don't roller skate, so and they not about to get me on roller skates. I'm not a small man. I'm not a young man, and I gotta work. And if I got a concussion or broken something or
If I got
bruised
twinge in my
something,
back,
I can't do all of that. So y'all got to get over it. I'm not going roller skating with y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing it. You want me to ride a roller coaster with you? I ain't doing it. I've been there, done that. I can't go back. So there's just so some of those things, sadly, there are some of those things the kids will never have their father do it with them. I will never do those things with them. I will cheer them on from afar, very far. I will watch it happen. I will be okay with them doing it if they choose to. But sometimes I do. Those are the times that I take time off. I mean, and then sometimes I jump right in, feet first. I'll do the things with them. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know if we'll ever do it again, but we went tubing down a river in West Virginia, and I was like, I mean, it ended up being a funny day, but it wasn't. I don't particularly find it fun to sit on the river and go tubing down the river, but I did it.
In the rapids,
Yeah. I mean, it's so we did the thing, and that was an experience, and we did it, and and so some of those things are things that we will do together. We will have those memories forever. We will make memories in other ways, but yeah, I one of the things I tell my kids is that y'all have to understand that your father is very much here for you, very much connected to you.
Right.
And I am unfortunately extremely connected to this place, the place where they go to school. And sometimes that means that your father will not take you to birthday parties. Sometimes that means that your father won't be able to, make big changes to the way that the teacher is treating you, because if I go in and talk to that teacher, it's not as a parent in their eyes, it's as an administrator. And so that immediately changes the whole dynamic of that conversation in a way that is it could get me sent to HR very, very quickly. You know what I'm saying? And so I have to be very cautious about that. And it's sometimes that's the tough part, right? Because I want to be like, there for my kids. I want to hold the teachers to a high standard. I want to make sure that my kids are getting a fair shake, but I had to sick my wife on them, because if I go in there, then it's a whole different conversation, right? For multiple reasons. I actually had a conversation not too long ago with a coworker, and they felt like there's two black people talking to them, and they felt like they were being ganged up on. And I was like, well, you know what? I knew that was going to come. I saw that coming before I walked into that conversation. And that those kind of things are very real. And I don't want that to be indicative of my kids' experience at the school. I don't want them to always feel like they can't come to me and tell me what's going on because daddy's not going to do anything. But the reality of it is sometimes daddy can't be the one to lead the charge on those things.
Man.
So
no, that's real. It's really interesting how in different moments they know how we're going to react.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can think of a couple times in different situations where my sons would tell me something in a particular way or stop me from a train of thought because they know how I get down, right?
Right,
so like,
right.
If I'm going to be a part of something, I'm committed to such a depth that I'm gonna see it through. So if we're talking about something joyful, I'm going to see it through joyfully with the joy. But if there's a problem or an issue, and I pull those threads,
mm-hmm.
It's going there, in a mature way. So like my son was like, he had an issue and he was like, Dad, like, I just need you to let me handle it. Like, I was like, okay, well, walk me through how you gonna handle it, because this. And he's like, I got it. And I was like, all right. And he exceeded my expectations.
There you go.
But in other cases, my sons have been like, oh, they didn't put me in that accelerated class. Oh, we need to complain. So how are we gonna do this, Dad? I'm like, hold up. You can't use me for warfare. Like,
right.
What did you get on the placement exam? We're not doing that. So
that's right.
It's like that. They've learned that, there's some privileges with this.
Yeah.
And I got to be a good steward to say, like, no, you just can't hop in the privilege of me, because that's reckless.
Yeah.
But you're getting the privilege because the faculty are definitely, they see you. Mm-hmm. They know who you are. But if you just carry yourself the right way and you do this thing, like, the benefits are there. The benefit of them knowing you're my child is that they're aware of who you are. But if I'm messy and sloppy, that also transfers to you. You know what I mean? And vice versa. But I think what I like about this experience now is that we've got so many faculty and staff kids at our school to where they're not abnormal.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think my sons carry the pressure of being a faculty kid. But I also know I have authority and influence in the hierarchy of school. Mm-hmm. I've got some privilege that everybody doesn't have. Now, a general teacher who teaches 5 sections of history, their kid may feel some stress in different ways.
Right.
But what I love is that these 2 black boys get to know that they can walk into the administrative wing of school, throw their bag on one of my chairs, and be themselves. 20 years from now, I'm hoping that pours into their own ambition in ways that serve them and my grandkids in really beautiful ways.
Yeah.
So right now I'm just trying to be a good steward over the moment.
Yeah. Well, Chris, man, so we've been talking for an hour already, man.
Oh, that's wild.
We done hit it. I always like to try to keep to the time that I tell people we're gonna do with the podcast, because I know everybody's busy, and I know you up early on a Saturday morning.
I got a cigar right after this. I'm about to hit a stogie right after this.
See, I wish it's hot outside here. It's like 1 billion degrees outside. I gotta go over to the cigar lounge, hang out, you know what I'm saying? Which is cool. It's cool hanging out at the cigar lounge. I like hanging out at the cigar lounge with the guys. But sometimes I just like to go out on the deck, but it'd be a zillion degrees in the middle of the day. I can't do that in the summer.
Yeah, you gotta wait till the sunset. So.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been great talking with you, man. I've really enjoyed this. We need to do this more often. I know we used to have some really good conversations, back in the sticks and stones day. And that was great. And when we got together in Chicago, great conversations there as well, man. I really enjoyed it. And today, thank you so much for being here, man. I really enjoy this. Tell hey, is there anything you got going on that you want the people to know about out there?
Oh man, well, number one, thank you, John, for having me. This is beautiful, and we definitely gotta get a cadence going, because I think a lot of brothers will benefit from just fellowship in as many ways as we can find it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also have a podcast called On the Way to School. So On the Way to School, anywhere podcasts are available. I've been on a little hiatus, but I'll be back.
Man, we all take a little high. Look, you just finished up getting your doctorate, sir. You deserve it.
And, but yeah, anything else that folks want to just check out, visit campusculturegroup.com. That's my website, and I'm gonna have some things coming up there. But yeah, other than that, if you can get to John, you can get to me. So let's roll like that.
Yeah. That's fantastic, man. So for all the people out there listening, you heard it from Chris, you know what I'm saying, how you can connect with him. Always remember to watch this podcast all the way through. You made it to this point, you made it to the end. Share it with your friends, you know what I'm saying? Hit like on YouTube. It's also available on Spotify and all of the other all the other podcast options out there. And thank you for listening, to another episode of the Daddy Confessions podcast. It's always fun to talk with great people like Chris. I hope you got something out of it today. And if you did, comment on it. Let me know what you got out of this podcast. Again, Chris, thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Everybody listening and watching, thank you for checking in with us. We out of here. Peace.